Hello everybody and welcome to our first discussion episode for LEGO's new TV series, Nexo Knights. That's right, from the creators of The Legends of Chima and also Ninjago, which is still ongoing, thankfully. We have Nexo Knights, which is going to be, I think, a 20-episode TV show they announced a while back. I'm not sure.
I really don't remember.
Yeah, I'd be lying if I said I knew exactly. I think it was 20, though. Because I distinctly remember saying that, well, wouldn't it be nice if Bionicle had 20 episodes?
Ouch.
Yeah, low blow,
My
I know, but
goodness.
regardless, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. I'm Meso.
I'm Eljay.
I'm Takuma.
And we may have Kai coming in for some episodes of this series, but as well as maybe one or two other people, but this will be the main cast, probably, who you will see every time, hopefully. Schedules permitting.
Also, something to mention, this is a... Huh? What,
I was
what
just going to say, how many other conditionals are you going to throw in there, Meso?
I have some more, but I'm not done.
Probably,
Go on, Eljay.
maybe.
No, I figured we were going to say the same thing. Go ahead.
You can go first. Mine's a tangent.
I was just going to say this is a coverage. You know, this isn't the actual episode. Read the title. It's there for you.
Exactly.
So if you get all bent out of shape that this isn't an actual episode, that's your own fault.
Yes.
Stupid.
Exactly. The links will be included to watch the episode in the description below, but this is a review series. For those new to our channel, because I know our audience has grown significantly, what we're going to be doing here each week, or whenever the episodes premiere, because from what I'm to understand, this was the launch of the series, but the series will not begin weekly airing next week. That's going to happen at some point in the future. It's not now, and Chima did a similar thing. It had an hour-long premiere and then was gone for 2 months. So, what we're going to be doing here, we're going to be discussing the episode for 20 minutes, giving our thoughts, recapping the event in a humorous way, even though Kai hates that. We're going to still do it.
Kai's such a stick in the mud. I'm not surprised.
And just, giving our opinions on the episode each week. So without further ado, this week we had a 2-part premiere, and I think the episode title was The Book of Monsters. I believe it was, parts 1 and 2. So,
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll just go with that. If it's not called that, it may as well be, because that was the important part. So, Eljay, why don't you go ahead and do your episode recap?
I am actually going to make it shorter, though, since I don't really need to make it so long.
Alright.
So the episode starts off, and we have 5 new knights that are being, well, effectively knighted. They've gone through the training, they've gone through the process, antics apparently went on behind the scenes. So now is their celebration to become official, what?
The celebration, battlebration, or graduation, battlebration.
Started.
You be quiet. Anyway, they are officially going to become Knights of the Kingdom of Knighton. And there's this huge celebration, and they're given their shields, and they kind of show off their stuff, and we're introduced to the characters. Clay Morrington, Aaron Fox, Macy Halbert, Lance Richmond, and Axel. There are a couple other characters, but those will come into play later. We'll get into that. So they are effectively knighted. They get their shields with their family mark. All of a sudden, enemies attack. But boom! Guess what? Turns out it's actually what's his name? A wizard by the name of Murloc. And he was just kind of doing that for fun as a show. So they are knighted. They get out of the arena, and we are introduced to Jestro, the jester, and he's about to be put on an act. However, he's very concerned that he's not going to do very well. No one's going to like him because he's following a better act done by Murloc. Clay reassures him, and he goes out into the field and sucks. Sucks so much, he knocks out the entire power grid for the entire kingdom. So it goes black. He's laughed at, he's mocked, he hightails it somewhere else. So the power's out everywhere, he hears a voice, he goes into a library owned by Murloc and finds a book, a talking, creepy, disturbing-looking book that tells him to be evil. Well, Clay finds him... Oh yes, ad nauseum. Clay finds him, opening the book, creating monsters, antics occur, and Murloc comes in just in the nick of time before Clay is smash-dashed, and blows up all the monsters, sends Jestro out of the kingdom, and vanishes suddenly. And that is effectively where the series begins, with episode 1.
Okay. Do you want to just go ahead? Let's just go ahead and talk about episode 2 as well. Get that out of the way. So we can just do this as a block.
Sure. Episode 2 begins. They're confused. They're dazed. library is in practical ashes. Everyone is really confused. So, Murloc is missing. Jestro's out of the city. He's out of the entire kingdom, apparently. And he has his evil book, which is simply the Book of Monsters. And it's a talking book, and it tells, what's his name? It tells Jestro what they need to do now is they need to find other evil books, because those got spread everywhere. So it's basically your hunt quest story. So they need to find evil books to become more powerful. And the book is basically telling Jestro, hey, you know what? You're good at being bad. And that's essentially how he convinces him. So they're going around this forest, and they're looking for these evil books, and they find an evil book and become super evil. And he eats the book. Well, then they want to go ahead and attack the city. They go and attack the city. All hope seems lost. The knights aren't doing a very good job. But all of a sudden, these two side characters figure out, oh, hey, there's this weird signal while we're trying to get the power back on. It's what's his name?
Murloc
2.0. So, Murloc gives the knights a new upgrade. They're able to beat all the villains in one hit. They become super OP. Our bad guys run off. The day is saved. And that is episode 2.
Okay. Good job, Eljay.
Thank you.
So, I think I don't really know the best way to go about this. So let's just
Can we talk
begin.
about the play, all the play on words first?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty important thing. You mean like all the puns and stuff?
Yes, I'd like to sum it up in a word, if I may.
Go for it.
Ugh.
Yeah, I think that's pretty.
There were some genuinely funny moments in these episodes, but as far as 99% of the puns were concerned, they weren't even good puns, like the kind that are so bad they're good. They were just lame.
I liked the puns. I just did not like the presentation.
Did you like the puns or some of the puns?
I mean,
I liked the puns.
Did you
like graduation battlebration?
No.
I mean,
I can
think that was
deal
a
with
pun.
certain puns. I mean, you kind of have to if you're going to be a fan of My Little Pony because they do the same thing. But so many of these just annoyed me. And, like, the names for the characters, Macy?
And she has a mace.
Macy?
See, fun fact.
Spreading it a little thick, aren't you?
I did not get that upon seeing the character and being introduced to the character, despite the fact that she wielded a mace. I only got that when she was talking to... I only got that when she was talking to her parents, and her mother grabbed a mace that her husband used. Yeah. And I'm sitting here going, oh my goodness, it makes sense.
And doesn't, like... I know Axel has an axe. I think Lance has a lance.
Lance
has a lance.
I will let slide because Lance is actually a name.
Well,
okay.
Yeah. But, like, Aaron flies in the air on his hoverboard.
Aaron is a name.
Well,
That's not so bad because...
I mean, look, Macy is a name as well.
Yeah,
for like a department store.
No, people have been called Macy.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure Macy is an actual name.
Yeah, it's
Still.
just all of their names are based on weaponry, except for maybe not weaponry or their characters, except for Clay. I don't think.
Claymore.
Wabstva.
You know,
also,
Claymore's a type
Aaron
of sword, right?
No, actually.
And he uses a sword. Aaron is actually a play on arrow.
Mm-hmm.
It's also true. I was thinking of it like he's in the air on his hoverboard, but no, arrow makes more sense.
I know.
What hoverboard? He was using his shield.
Whatever.
He was using
Don't you remember the
best
disrespect?
Yeah. The comedy was on point at several instances. We laughed legitimately multiple times.
There were a few sensible chuckles.
I recall there were a large majority of the time was spent cringing or just having no reaction.
This is the
and I must agree with Eljay when it was not so much the jokes, but the presentation of the jokes.
This is the part where the people who made the show are listening, and they're thinking to themselves, we've said this before, we didn't make this for older people, we made it for little kids.
Yes, this is very true.
They did say that.
This is an acknowledgement.
So we are obviously, we know that going in. We're not deluded or deluding ourselves to think that we are the target demographic, but we are older. I can't roll back the clock and go like 10 years, Meso. 10-year-old Meso listening.
But Meso, you're 12.
No, I am not 12.
Suffice to say, the jokes that, the jokes are going to be kind of subjective based on age. I get that.
Yes.
You don't have to have super highbrow, clever humor. That's
No.
that's not a fair point.
Yeah.
We can really argue too much because we're not the
Some
target
jokes
demographic.
land and some don't, and it's that way with all shows, especially all Lego shows.
Little
I can
kids
tell
are
you-
more likely to find it funny than we are.
True. But all we can tell you is our personal perspectives, and I was not that impressed by the humor, but I think a lot of it comes from how it was delivered, namely, the series was launched with their graduation battlebration, and the first 5 minutes or so of the episode were these two really obnoxious characters. This announcer guy and this, like, robot announcer woman who's, like, sitting up in their booth, like, commenting and just
So
busting out
much
terrible
cringe.
humor over
so
and over.
much cringe.
That joke could have worked if it was a cutaway thing. Like, they're there, you establish it's being streamed live, it's a TV show, and they cut back to it periodically to deliver funny jokes. But they had just a giant block of these people talking and cracking
They were
jokes.
the color commentary.
Yeah,
And let me
it's
tell
too
you,
much.
the color was mud.
Wow. The color was...
Yeah.
See, I think that joke actually could have worked. I saw a lot of potential in it because these robots, they seem to fit a certain character. They're all eccentric. They're all somewhat almost within that uncanny valley. However, I feel like that would have worked really, really well if the female robot was like super grating and obnoxious.
She was.
And then the guy was like, "Why am I stuck with you?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness."
But no, yeah. It seems
Like
like,
playing
they
the
were
straight
trying
man.
too hard.
Yep. It was not all that great. There were a couple good moments humor-wise, though, like with Jestro in the book.
Okay, every time Jestro and the book were on screen, I was entertained greatly. I had a lot of fun with that one scene where Jestro summons a book carrier for the book. And so the book is being carried, and he wants the guy to turn him around. So he literally turns him a full 360 degrees. And they do it a couple of times. I don't feel that was overplayed. That was quite entertaining. I like that.
Pretty good.
Speaking of those two, though, like I said earlier, I can't criticize them too much for like the kind of jokes they use because they can, that'll work on younger kids. One thing I am a stickler for, though, and you both know this, is story. And oh my
Yes,
gosh,
I think let's segue into that. We've talked about the comedy. Let's talk about the plot.
as was alluded to earlier, the Book of Monsters gets Jestro to go along with him simply by saying, pretty much just going, be bad over and over again, and not giving him any action. There was no coercion or convincing or subvert. There was no trying to get him to be bad. It was just straight up telling him, hey, you, be bad. Really?
There was a slight bit of coercion when he mentioned that,
Everyone-
don't you want to have people make fun of you? Don't you want to be, the guy who can do stuff and be super powerful and whatnot? But on the whole, it was just, be bad. I'm going to make you the baddest baddie in the land.
Jestro had reservations about the whole thing, and he should have, but he gave them up way too quickly.
Yep.
I would have rather like the book cast some sort of spell on him that made him evil,
They
or
walked
at the
a
very
very
least
fine
made him
line.
very suggestive and open to being evil.
They walked a very fine line with that character, and I think they fell off a little too early, because, I was going along, and it was glaringly apparent the angle they were going with it. Like, the guy gets made fun of, he wants to be a guy that people respect and fear. I could get behind that if they had ran with it for a little bit longer. Give me just a little more insight into Jestro's character, like you said, give a little more development to the book and what he does. I could have bought it.
Honestly, I think the book is fine. I don't think the book needed anything other than it's an evil book. I think Jestro needed a bit more.
I mean, like with Takuma, I would rather you have done something other than just say, be bad. Like anything else.
I'm sure, but granted, I think that's a little bit more on Jestro's side than the book. Because what a character says is only as good or bad as the reaction another character gives to that. So Jestro crumbling so quickly to that, in my opinion, speaks more for Jestro than it does the book.
Fair enough.
I don't know. Either way, the scene just seemed sloppily written.
Yeah.
I think it did what it needed to do. So I appreciate it for being short, sweet, and getting us into the story with the character.
It did the barest minimum of what it needed to do.
I was going to say, if anything, I feel like maybe the reason it was as not great as it was because they were concerned with time constraints. It's like, oh, we need this guy to be convinced quickly, but they just didn't do it convincingly.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, let's talk about the world in general, like the plot that this surrounds. We have this land called Knighton, and there has not been a monster attack. Yeah, I know, right? It's stupid shit. Okay. There's not been a monster attack for over 100 years, but then they later say specifically 100 years, so which is it? I'm curious.
I mean, they might have been 101 days. Sorry, not days.
Yeah, maybe.
Like 101
you were going for 100 years
in
a day, right?
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say, yeah. It's like over 100 years.
And, like, there haven't been monster attacks, but there's still coronating new knights. But, like...
Granted, I don't know if they necessarily are... I mean, they're doing the new knights now, but we don't know if they've been doing them over those 100 years.
This is true. But I would presume so.
I mean,
that's the implication.
Just because there's peacetime, it doesn't mean you're going to disband your military or whatever.
Yeah, it's the other thing. Their military, like their robot army, or the guards or whatever, it seem horribly inefficient at their jobs when presented with an actual threat.
The robots, I feel like at times they can be really funny, and we've seen them be really funny. I wish there was more of them being really funny. I definitely know that they fit a certain archetype, and that is the slapstick kind of almost the reactionary humor, and that's not a surprise.
Yeah, the one bit I found funny was when they were like something about electricity. I forget what exactly.
Yeah, see, that was really funny. Yeah,
that was good. Everything else, not so much. And I almost have to wonder, a good headcanon would be like they're so inefficient at fighting the monsters because they've never been presented with a situation where they actually needed to fight monsters before. They were just designed to act as guards. And hasn't been an attack in 100 years, so I mean, kind of rusty. Get it? But I'm okay.
Wow. Yeah, I'm not laughing.
Yeah. It's an interesting premise. The medieval styling juxtaposed against high-tech.
I feel there's a lot of potential for this, and that's one thing I am definitely excited about.
There is. It's one of the strengths that this has going for it. What else is there, I guess?
There's not a whole lot because it's such a new series, but I agree. I like its potential. I definitely like this premiere more than I did Chima's because
it's no contest.
It's leaving an opening to continue, and I like that. I like that there's somewhere more it can go. I'm eager to see where it's going to go. Sure, some of the humor is a little bit hit or miss, and the beginning was a rocky start, mainly due to the announcers. Yes. But I like the character interaction thus far. None of them stick out as particularly annoying or obnoxious. They're decent characters. They fit the roles they need to play. And I like a lot of the interactions between the book and Jestro. I like where the story is headed. I'm eager to see more, and wanting more is definitely not a bad thing.
It's an important distinction you make against comparing it against Chima, because Chima's premiere was one of the worst examples of Lego TV shows, I think, we've seen, especially in hindsight. I look back at that, and they did the whole thing where, like, part one was a flashback, but it started present day, and it cut to the flashback, which transitioned into part two, and then they had to, like, recap it or whatever. It was, it was really weird.
I'll be honest. The people behind these shows are spectacular people.
Yeah.
And Ninjago is quality.
Ninjago is an example of that.
Toward the end, Chima got much, much better. However, the premiere, it's hard to like it, the premiere of that show.
Very, very difficult. Chima, I was really happy watching the progression of the Legends of Chima as it transitioned from this pretty stupid concept, kind of poorly handled, and it grew over its seasons to the point where at the end, like you said, it was actually pretty good. I could watch that and I can see there is significant quality behind this. And Nexo Knights has already hit the ground running better than Chima did, so I'm really hoping this can go places too. As far as a couple other miscellaneous comments, I wanted to say the team up specifically. You mentioned the team of knights. None of them stood out as particularly interesting. It's really apparent and really funny, coming from the perspective of a Bionicle fan. You can see how these tropes, these character traits, are really present in the multiple different lines. Mm-hmm. We have, like, the hot-headed leader who's like, oh, he really wants to train and fight. And then we have, like, the big, bulky guy, like Onua.
I wouldn't call him hot-headed at all.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't.
He's like, I failed. I'm not fit to be a knight, so we have to train.
They didn't seem.
What are you saying?
They did not seem.
He was nothing like that, Meso. That is a complete inaccurate representation.
Everything I said was a direct quote. So in what way is it inaccurate?
The quote.
He had a crisis of faith, like Vakama did. And then he pressured his team to train to fight because they need to fight better.
Meso.
Who needs unity when all we need is combat
Meso,
skill?
Your presentation is what's wrong.
You're
he
way
never shouted
overplaying it.
He was never brash nor hot-headed.
I did that for comedic effect.
It wasn't funny!
This is a criticism.
But the character traits are there. And if you let me explain, I can explain them.
I think you've done enough explaining for today.
He literally did the whole thing. Where he's like, he was so dejected because they could not save Murloc. His solution was not to work on team building, or develop a sense of unity, or strategy, or whatever. He said, we must hit a punching bag and sword fight, and that is how we will get stronger.
Except
and be able
he
to
literally
fight
was saying more than once, hey, we need to coordinate our attacks.
Later on
actually,
in the
Macy
episode.
was saying more than once, we need to coordinate our, work on our teamwork.
Yeah, all Clay did was want to hit the punching bag and then sword fight with Lance, who is the...
He did
to that degree, Takuma's right. He did several times mention we need to work on teamwork as well.
Later in the episode, as part of his character development, which is very predictable.
Guess,
he clearly fits the Tahu archetype.
No, he does not.
Character. And I
give
them props for that because he's not red.
He does not fit the attitude. Tahu is a very brash, irrationally angry character. Clay, much more level-headed, far more relatable, very inspiring, especially to Jestro. He was incredibly encouraging to Jestro, someone who was not an active part of his team. He's always seen as the nice, friendly, good guy. Tahu's nothing like that.
He still fits the general archetype.
No, he doesn't.
The traits may be different, but the archetype is still there.
Okay.
The only thing they have in common is the leader of their respective team.
I honestly don't see... Unless I'm forgetting something, I don't recall there actually being a whole lot of character flaws with Clay. I really can't think of one.
The only one would be he blames himself for what happened to Murloc. That's the only one.
I'd say the training thing. I think they made a point of showcasing that for a reason.
Training is not necessarily a flaw.
No, it's not, but the way he went about it, I wouldn't necessarily call it a flaw, but it was very indicative. I think they did that for a reason.
Maybe the only other thing is his quarrel with Lance.
Which I also got as a direct parallel to Tahu versus Kopaka.
Sure, that's a direct parallel. That does not mean...
and including when Axel picked them up by the heads and pulled the don't fight thing.
See,
which was funny.
Absolutely, I agree the parallel is there. However, Lance also is nothing like Kopaka.
Nope.
You're going to say he's like Kopaka?
No. I'm saying, no, he's not.
He's
You're
like
right.
Kopaka.
See,
and then Aaron
none
is
of these,
clearly the
I will say,
character.
these characters fit different archetypes. I don't think, aside from Axel, they have much in common with the Bionicle characters we are familiar with.
I think Aaron's a pretty direct translation of Liwa.
No.
Not direct, but he is the most similar.
I'd say he's probably the closest one, but not direct.
And then I'll say Macy, she has some more depth to her, but she's like the Golly of the Bionicle 2015 animations. We need to work together, guys. We got a mission here.
Except she's
like
not
the
all
core
about
center
that.
of the team.
And actually, this was one of my issues coming into this is, are we really playing this angle again? The whole, I'm a girl and you're not accepting the fact that I can do the same things. Is this trope not played out yet?
Nope.
No, I don't think they're doing that angle, actually, because the only one that is saying that is her father, and that is actually an angle I don't remember seeing from a LEGO show, because the father is just wanting to protect his child. That's what I got
exactly.
Out of it. Because
it's
in the end,
so much...
they did make her a shield, and she did eventually get it, and in the end, the father did let her be knighted.
Yeah. It wasn't so much a thing of you're a girl and you cannot do it. It was more just like he doesn't want to see her get hurt.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
We'll
She
see
just
how
happens to be a
it
girl.
plays out. But yeah, the king character actually just kind of annoyed me with just how paranoid and helpless he acts. I don't know if that's supposed
not
to be
that
like
great.
a contrast to the obvious strength that the queen displays,
I think so. And also to
Yeah.
boost up Murloc a little bit.
but it does seem a little bit too much to me.
Agreed. It was very overplayed. However, the king did get 2 very funny moments of the whole show where he was like,
Yes.
darkness has fallen across the land.
That was a
No.
good joke.
not darkness, like evil monsters, but just the lights are off.
Yeah, that was funny.
Good stuff.
Spoiler alert.
So, well, yeah, going in, you should expect spoilers.
Yeah.
So
So-
that's pretty much all I have to say. It's a cool show. There's a lot of potential here. Takuma, what'd you think?
I mean, it was very flawed, but as I mentioned before with you guys, I can't think of a single series premiere that ever made me think, "Oh man, this is amazing!" right off the bat. Every
Yep.
single one of them are flawed until they kind of figure out how to hit their strides. And
You're right.
so I'm definitely going to be looking forward to seeing where this goes. I think it has a lot of potential.
That it does. I know that Lego, obviously with Ninjago, that theme was a runaway hit. People just fell in love with that. With Chima, it had a sizable fan base, but it did not ever reach that same level of critical acclaim, and it only lasted for 3 years. I'm curious if they plan to angle for Nexo Knights to be the next big thing, or if it will last 3 years as well.
Nexo Knights is, at least from what we have heard, supposed to be a Big Bang theme. So yes, it is trying to replicate that formula that Ninjago pulled off.
Hopefully it works.
Yep.
So, for now, that's pretty much all we have to say, unless you have anything else you would like to add, any of you.
I am just rather excited to see it continue. I'm looking forward to this. I have a lot of faith in the writers and the developers and the animators and all the people involved in this. They've done a great job with Ninjago. They did an admirable job with Chima once it got toward the later seasons and it developed a lot. I'm really looking forward to this because I am intrigued. I want more, and that's a good thing.
good thing,
I
yeah.
want to see more.
Alrighty then. In that
So,
case,
We should recommend it, definitely.
Yeah,
check it out. There's nothing you can lose from not giving this a shot.
I mean,
Just keep in mind, it's not.
20 minutes of your life, but
I guess it's
Ah,
worthwhile.
yes.
It's worthwhile 20 minutes. Because we gotta support Lego and whatever they decide to do. And even though this got a TV show and Bionicle didn't get a 20-episode TV show, I'll try to not be bitter about that.
You're not going to try to not be bitter about it. You're going to be bitter about it no matter what.
I'll try not to take it out on Nexo Knights. Just
Yeah,
on
you're
upper
gonna do what-
management.
Oh,
So,
yeah, okay.
We
Fine,
will-
whatever.
that pretty much concludes our coverage of Nexo Knights premiere, The Book of Monsters, Part 1 and 2. Stay tuned whenever the series launches, fully, weekly. We will be here discussing it with you. And I guess I should have mentioned at the start that because of our partnership with Vessel, you can check us out at vessel.com/the TTV channel and join our early access program for 1 week early access to all of our content, including these premieres, which are recorded the day of the episodes airing or the day afterwards, and then they hit Vessel and then YouTube a week later. So if you'd like to stay caught up fully and stay up to date, always go to check out Vessel. It's a great place to be. And we'll see you back whenever the series premieres. Thanks for listening. I'm Meso.
I'm LJ.
Takuma.
And farewell.